We would never do this to you. This is what you pictured, wasn't it? Cross-legged, struggling to quiet our thoughts, forcibly motivating ourselves to do this every day. This is not meditation. This limits what meditation can be. This is what meditation can be.
We need you to do something for us. Drop any preconceived notions of what meditation is at the door. Let go of these ideas of how meditation should be practiced and what it looks like, because meditation is something only you can create.
My name is Mitch, and I've been meditating every day for the last 2 months, but I've had an on and off meditative practice for around 3 years now.
And my name's Eli, and I've been meditating daily for the last 3 years. Our goal with this video is to give you the fundamentals we've learned throughout this time to empower you to create your own meditative practice.
We simplified this process down into 4 steps.
The first thing we want to do is redefine what meditation is. In our experience, the mainstream media gives a very narrow idea of what this practice can actually be, and we want to break free from those ideas and start from a strong foundation.
Second, we'll learn how to explore the vast array of meditative styles that are out there without getting too overwhelmed.
Thirdly, we'll learn how to dive into those methods and find out which method or combination of methods works best for you.
And finally, you'll learn how to make this new practice your own so you can feel motivated and excited every day to keep progressing on this journey.
So without further ado, join me in redefining what meditation is, and let's embark on this beautiful adventure. I believe that the main misconception we have about meditation is that we think of it only as an action rather than a state of being. Although a meditative practice is an action, the purpose of that action is to achieve a meditative state. A meditative state is simply a more aware state of being in which we feel more alert, alive, loving, and open to our current experience. It's a similar feeling to drinking coffee or getting high without any of the fogginess or anxiousness that can come along with those external modes of changing mood. The purpose of repeating meditative practices is that these positive effects begin to leak into our daily lives. We begin to notice all the little details that make life possible, and we become more thankful and joyous for it. And we start to unfold our ideas of self and what is possible and regain access to that childlike magic of life. Now that we have laid that foundation, I want to share with you the 3 rules to meditation that allowed us to discover all of this and completely change our lives. The first is to drop all expectations. Many of us think that meditation is the act of sitting still, cross-legged, with our eyes closed, clearing our mind of thoughts. Although some pieces of that idea are found in many meditative practices, that is only a small drop in the vast ocean of what meditation can be. By consciously letting go of these expectations of what meditation looks like, you will empower yourself to find the practices that will actually help move you towards the beautiful experience of a meditative state. Number 2 is that failure does not exist. Study anyone who has ever done anything profound and you will notice one thing that they all have in common. They stopped looking at failures as dead ends and started looking at them as valuable teachings that led to new beginnings. So many of my friends who have wanted to start meditating came to me after a few days of trying and said, "I'm just bad at meditation," and then they quit. You aren't bad at meditation. No, things aren't always easy and profound the first time you try them, but that doesn't mean that they're not worth trying more, or that there aren't other ways that you could do them that would feel much more natural to you right away. Whenever you are trying anything new, and especially something like meditation, treat yourself like a child who's just learning how to walk. Things are going to feel uncomfortable and goofy when you first start, but just like a child who falls down when learning to walk, you need to learn to take that spill, roll around, laugh, have fun doing it, and then stand back up and try again. The third and final rule is to trust your experience. Our states of being change our perception and experience of life events. If you're in a happy state, talking to a friend can make your day. If you're in an angry state, however, talking to the same friend who is saying the same exact words can drive you crazy. Since the goal of meditation is to improve our state of being, experience is going to be our only doorway into that realm. Pay closer attention to how you feel throughout the day and during and after meditative practices, and you will better understand how these are affecting your life. You'll also be able to navigate which practices are best for you and in what ways. Now that we have laid the groundwork, I'll send you over to Mitch to figure out where we go from here.
So now that we have a blank slate and a less limited idea of what meditation is, where's the best place to start? Building your own practice should be a really enjoyable and exciting experience. There are many ways that you can do this type of research, but I'll list a few of the biggest ones here. You could do a lot of good by making a quick Google or YouTube search to find teachers that you connect with. It's easy to skim around these sites, and once you find a teacher that you really enjoy, you can dive deep into their works and learn more about their meditative practices. You could also dive into books about meditation or other books that don't specifically mention meditation but have a lot to say about different mindfulness practices and ways we can move about life. You can also talk to people you know, whether that's an elder, a professor, a mentor, or someone who has a strong meditative practice, and learn what they have to say on the topic. Or you could look inward, inside yourself, or outward into the external environment and nature and ask both what they might say about how you could best be meditating. The way that I have been meditating over the last 2 months feels a lot less like a specific meditative practice or technique and more like a grouping of many different techniques, including a sound meditation that I learned from a professor in college a couple of years back, different Buddhist teachings about stillness and mindfulness practices, and all 3 elements of the Wim Hof method, which includes gradual non-forced cold exposure, different types of breath work, and specific meditative practices. And Eli's practice also draws from a lot of the same places. However, our practices in reality look a lot different, which I think is part of the beauty of meditation. Now, with all of these different ways that you can do research and educate yourself, it can get pretty overwhelming when you're trying to start building this practice. So we're gonna send you over to Eli so he can talk more in depth about how to implement these different practices that you're learning about into your life so you can see which ones might best fit you.
With the amount of information we have access to these days, it's easy for us to spend our time intellectualizing. When we learn something new, we immediately go into imagination and judgment mode, where we start to think out all the possibilities of what this new information could give to us. We find an attractive person's profile and imagine an entire relationship we could have with them, or we discover a new way of working out and imagine ourselves with fit bodies, but the only problem is that we rarely actually make these things happen. We have become conditioned to imagine, but not to live, even though it's life, deep, engaging experience that we all long for. Moving towards that is our goal with meditation, and that's why we believe the guiding light for finding what meditative practice works best for you is to find what makes you feel most alive. You are the only one who can define what aliveness means to you. But to give you a general idea of what I mean, imagine the feelings you have when you meet someone who you find attractive. Your ears perk up, your vision becomes focused, your heart opens, and you become energized. All you want to do is talk to them and discover more about them and be close to them. Now imagine if you could have those feelings towards everything. Friends, strangers, animals, plants, air, the earth, other planets, and the space that holds it all together. That is what we mean by aliveness. That is what we mean by a meditative state. When you're doing research into different types of practices, these feelings are what you should be looking out for. Allow what intrigues you most to guide where you start, and trust that your experience of those emotions will guide you well. This is a practice in intuition, which Mitch will get into in the final section, but for now, let's imagine that you've found a meditative practice that you're excited about, and let's talk about the 3 pillars to meditation that have helped us integrate new practices into our daily rituals. The first pillar is giving it a try. Over the last couple months, I've integrated cold showers into my daily practice, and if it's taught me one thing, it's the importance of just going for it. Well, I'm off to the quack zone.
What's the quack zone?
Standing in front of a cold shower or laying in bed in the morning, thinking about having to get up and do a meditative practice can be daunting at times. It is in these times that remembering the goal of entering a meditative state can help you take that first step. Also, the great news is the more you experience those states, the more you are going to be motivated to get going and you won't even think about the first step. I also find it very helpful in these situations to remind myself of the 3 rules to meditation that we talked about in the first section. Drop your expectations, failure isn't a thing, and trust your experience. With these tools, you'll be ready to enter into any new practice with an open mind and heart ready to experience. The second pillar is understanding your comfort zone. Wim Hof, one of the teachers who has been super influential to our practices recently, says something about his cold exposure methods that I think is applicable to every sort of practice. His advice is to continuously empower yourself by trying things that challenge you, but to never force things. Although this may seem like an arbitrary way of defining how much of a practice you should do, I think arbitrary is just what we need when it comes to the ever-changing nature of our comfort zones. Everybody is different, and every day is different for everybody. This means that what is a good amount of challenge for you one day could be too much the next and too little the day after that. With this measurement system, you'll be able to gauge how much of a practice is good for you on that day depending on what's going on in your life, and you'll get to enjoy the feeling of slowly expanding yourself into new practices and possibilities. The final pillar is patience. I see a lot of people on YouTube who try meditation for 30 days, speaking as if they figured out what it's all about. Although I commend them for beginning their journey and do think it's valuable to hear from peers who are at a similar level of experience, 30 days of meditation is going to give you only a very slight taste of what is possible. There are countless largely accessible resources written by people who have been meditating for over 30 years. These are the people who you should pay attention to because they know what it takes to stick to and consciously and continuously evolve a meditative practice. Just like anything else in life, the amount of devotion and dedication you give to your meditative practice will be what you get out of it. If you had told me 3 years ago when I did my first meditation practice that now I would be waking up in my dreams, flying up into the starry night sky to sit in contemplation amongst the constellations, I would have looked at you like this. But that's what we're doing now, and that's after only 3 years of dedicated meditative practice. So think about what people who have been doing this for 10 times the amount of that time are experiencing during these practices. It's beyond words. Now, although meditating in dreams is cool, I want you to understand that what you can do is far cooler. My practices have become a potent blend of the things that interest me and make me feel most alive. Mitch's practices are a completely different smoothie of what interests him. And your practices should be consciously crafted to be exactly what makes you feel most alive. So enjoy this last section with Mitch where you learn how to make these practices your own.
The idea with this final section is to make the practice your own, which is only possible if you break out of the rigidity of the methods that you try. No two humans are built the same or look the same or have the same needs. So why should their meditative practice look the same? To best fit meditation into your life in a healthy way, it must be precisely customized to fit who you are as a person and no one else. The best way to achieve this is to deeply trust and follow your intuition. The true meaning of intuition is often misinterpreted, but all it's really referring to is a deep-seated, very powerful feeling that wells up inside of you. If you ever feel the hair on the back of your neck stand on end, or if you come into contact with someone for the first time and you feel instantly calm and comfortable around them, or if you feel a very strong feeling within your gut, that's your intuition calling out. It's your decision whether you listen to that intuitive feeling or not. If your bodily instinct or feeling is telling you to do a certain thing in your practice, no matter how far out it is, make sure you try it. This may open you up to an experience that you would have never thought possible beforehand. Think of it this way. All of those different teachers that you may research and build your own practice on built their specific methodology by feeling into their own bodies and their own intuitions. That's why their practices seem so unique, because it's rooted in the bodily functions and trusting of their own intuitions to guide them in their practices, and has allowed them to customize their own methods that they're now sharing with the world. And likewise, if your body is telling you that a method that you're trying isn't working, just stop doing it. There's no pressure. Personally, by trusting my own intuition and bodily teachings, I have been led to a myriad of modifications on my meditative practice that has fit my needs so well. I'll give you one example here. So about 2 months ago, I felt called very deeply within me to start meditating outside at night in the middle of the woods. And my first instinct was like, what? I have to go outside at night and meditate? But my body said, yes, you do. And so I started doing that every night, middle of the woods. I was very afraid, but then I soon realized that fear allowed me to elevate to a higher state of consciousness every time I meditated, and I feel like my personal growth has been exponentially increased because of that new practice. And so, if you don't exactly know where to start in this process of learning to trust your own intuition, try beginning a dialogue with your own body. Eli and I like to think of it this way. Ask your body when, where, and how. Firstly, ask your body when during the day it might be most beneficial for you to start meditating. Secondly, ask your body where or what location it might be best to start practicing in a way that's challenging enough for you and can elevate your state of consciousness, but keeps you in a safe environment where you feel like you can expand yourself the best. And thirdly, ask your body what combinations of techniques and modifications on those techniques will best suit you to fit your own needs. When you start learning to trust your intuition and starting a dialogue with your body, you will find that you are opening up more and more to this life exuberance that we are all searching for with these meditative practices. As you will find when building a practice, meditation has the possibility to completely transform your life, and it is an extremely powerful tool that can open you up to the possibilities of what it means to be human.
Our process and our advice doesn't end here though. No, we aren't experts, but as you can see from this video, we are diligent students of the game and know exactly what it was like to be first dipping our toes into this practice of meditation. We are here to help you develop your own practice. So if you have any sort of questions or concerns, you can toss them in the comment section below and we'll make sure to reach out and respond to you.
And if you found this content helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel as our ever-growing community seeks for better ways of living together.
We are confident that you now have the necessary tools to build something beautiful. It is now up to you to discover what meditation looks like for you.
And as always,
Much love.